The Panzer IV-C has never been one of my favorite tanks in War Thunder. Primarily, the problem I have with it is its gun. It's a 75mm low-velocity weapon that has very little penetration and a tendency to lob its shots on target, making accuracy in anything but arcade problematic at best. Obviously, when you're using a gun of this type that has low penetration, you must find a way to target the weaker parts of the enemy's armor, either the sides, or better yet, the rear of the enemy vehicle, or perhaps even the top. Now, normally, this shell does lob itself on target, but there are ways to maximize that effect, ways that I really hadn't considered, but Cap has. Captain Romerick is going to show me and you a little bit more effective way to use this vehicle with this particular weapon system. He and a couple of friends of his are going to turn the Panzer IV-C and its low-velocity gun into a makeshift artillery system. Now, to make this work, first of all, you need to be in either a realistic or a simulator battle. It won't work in arcade. You're too easy to spot in the position you need to attain. The second step is to get to the high ground, and on this particular map that means the surrounding ridge line. Being in this position means that you have superior visibility. Remember, in a realistic battle, you're not going to see the enemy target markers over their tanks. Their names and the tank types won't be visible to you in the match as they are in this replay. Of course, in War Thunder realistic mode, that also means that you don't have the handicap of having your name picked out in neon letters over your head either. So you can get in this position and stay there with far lower chance of actually being spotted. That makes this whole tactic work. The other advantages are you can, with relative ease, see both capture points on the map and fire down on any enemy movement between them. This makes it relatively easy for Cap to target the more vulnerable areas of the enemy's armor and make maximum use of this gun's tendency to lob shots in to get good hits on the extremely thin top armor of most of the enemy vehicles. Most of your opponents are going to be looking at what for them is ground level, and they won't be looking up at the ridgeline. The only thing that can give you away, in most circumstances, are the enemy AI-driven tanks. They'll target you regardless of where you are. If you're the only target in range, you're going to have fire coming at you. And while that in itself isn't such a big hazard, it does draw the attention of alert enemy team members. They will see where those shots are going and start looking for you there. So it does pay to take out the enemy AI-driven tanks whenever you can, if you don't have a better player target at hand. The third thing to keep in mind is you have relatively good cover in many of the areas on top of a ridge like this. Areas where you can pull back just a little bit and be completely out of the line of fire of the enemy when you need to do so. That's an important thing to remember, and you often have freedom of movement where the enemy simply can't target you. The fourth advantage of being in this position on this particular map is that you have such excellent visibility of the enemy, you can often spot them the moment they leave their cap, or occasionally even shoot them in their cap if you so desire. They're not expecting to be spotted quite so quickly when there's no one around that they can visibly see themselves. And lastly, if and or when you do decide that your position has become untenable, you have gravity on your side as you leave the ridge and head down to the battlefield proper, giving you a nice burst of speed when you need it most. So now that I've explained the tactic, and its advantages. Let's watch while Cap and his friends go to work in this match. If by now you're thinking, my God, this is just like shooting fish in a barrel, well, you'd be right. That's kind of the whole point. While this would be a great position for any sniper, it really maximizes the strengths of the Panzer IV-C and its gun, or perhaps more accurately, minimizes the weaknesses that that gun has inherently. Now that all the visible targets around the enemy capture point have been dealt with, at least all of them that Cap can see. Remember, he can't see the name of Skyhound over there in the M2. He realizes that his own capture point is under assault. It's time to reposition, which, from this position, is simplicity itself. In perfect safety, they will withdraw along the ridgeline and head back to the overlook near the A point. Again, that's one of the nicest things about this position on this map. The ability to move from an offensive position to a defensive position effortlessly, whenever you like. The position that Cap's going for is this point just ahead of him. It offers the best vantage point over the A capture point. The only drawback to it is it's a bit exposed. And that brings me to one weakness with this tactic. As players die, well, often they know exactly where you were when you killed them. And the more players that you kill, the more of them that know your exact location. That can be a problem. It's offset by the obvious advantages of being up here. He's able to rain shell after shell after shell down here on Daniel Esty. That M3 is taking a brutal pounding. And with 6 kills under his belt, this position has more than paid off for Cap. However, not all players spawn back in a tank. On this ridgeline, you are very vulnerable to bombing runs or rocket runs by enemy aircraft. Cap's team has a very large presence on the ground still, so he's going to jump into a BF-109 and take to the air. Although his team is a little bit low on the ticket counter, keep in mind in the replay system the readout up there can be a little bit wonky. They have successfully stopped the capture attempt on their own base, and although it has driven their ticket counter low, they are recapturing it with very little trouble. Simultaneously, they are also making a strong push on the enemy's capture point, and there doesn't appear to be much on the ground to stop them. So I think Cap felt justified in jumping into the air and extracting at least a little bit of revenge on the bomber that destroyed him. It's exactly what I would do in this situation, but the only problem is this early Bf-109 doesn't have a lot of firepower, and Russian light bombers at this tier are extremely tough. So it should be interesting to see how this turns out. Keep in mind that more and more of the enemy team are ending up in aircraft as well, and the fight is going to take place over the enemy airfield with all of its AA batteries in play. Well, that was uncharacteristically short and brutal. The AAA was able to get a lucky hit in on Cap and set him on fire. He's peeling away back in the direction of friendly forces, but it's not going to matter. He's damaged too badly. His plane is disintegrating around him as we speak, and there's an enemy I-16 closing in on him at the same time. So this short-lived attempt at friendly revenge is going to come to an abrupt end. Still, as they say, the best revenge in this case would be winning the match for your team, and Cap's going to make sure that he accomplishes exactly that. One final kill as his team achieves victory. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in the replay, Cap. We'll see you again. And until I see the rest of you again, good hunting. Thanks for watching. I hope you were entertained. If you liked the video, please remember to subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And I'll see you next time.